Welcome back, everybody, to the EU CSQ Spring Finals. Try saying that 5 times fast. We're about to get into game number 2 between NRV and Team Kinguin.
Yes, we are.
But one game up for Kinguin right now, and they played it very, very well, despite setbacks in lane.
They have delivered NRV their first loss, and this was why people were a little bit surprised that NRV were actually able to beat out Fnatic Academy last night, because I think a lot of people were expecting Fnatic Academy to come in as dominant favorites in that matchup. They had a very weak early game, and then Memento was able to snowball it out of control. And you could see in game 1, that's exactly what they tried to do again. Memento tried to get that early lead. He tried to snowball it in NRV's favor, but they just didn't have enough engage tools. They didn't have enough ways to actually force those fights and force those plays. But now I think they're more aware. I think that having all of those jungle bans targeted towards them definitely threw off their dynamic, and their pick and ban was perhaps caught a little bit unaware, enabling Team Kinguin to have that very successful and powerful draft. But now it is NRV that is going to be on the blue side. Oh, never mind. No,
what you guys do. No, still Team Kinguin on the blue.
I was debated.
But that does happen every now and again, and it seems that NRV was the last time around. Curious to see if Team Kinguin end up with the same ban strategy. You have to think NRV can take this information and use it. The Rengar's banned away. No surprises considering what we saw yesterday. So far, the same.
Yeah, so NRV is saying, all right, let's just keep up with what we're doing. 3 of the main junglers haven't taken off the list. Perhaps they're going to look to try and take away the Nocturne themselves on the early rotation if things do stay the same. I think that this ban is a good ban.
Yeah. Sebix did some pretty nasty things with that champion.
Yes, he did. He had a fantastic performance game 1. His laning phase was a little bit slow, as you would expect, kind of what you want from the Rise.
He didn't get bursted by the Syndrome.
Exactly. Come the mid game, his performance was outstanding, especially that 2 versus 5 plus Baron was really good and enabled Team Kinguin to stay in the game. So that's going to be taken off the board now. In the game prior, Camille was banned away, and we also saw the final ban, which I unfortunately forget.
Yeah, that happens from time to time. The Syndra's banned, but this means Camille is actually up this time, and that is no hesitation on Ice Beastow's part to lock this one in. It will be a very different top lane, unless we get to see the Camille jungle.
Or the Camille mid. We saw that too during the qualifier.
Triple flex, Betty. Are you excited?
Flex. I mean, I'm always excited to see a bit of Camille. This is my first Camille cast. I mean, this is our first cast in a while. Fortunately, we've wiped off the rust game 1. We'll be better game 2.
Yeah.
But now, looking at NRV's
Don't quote him on that, by the way. It may not be the case.
They could go for the Zyra and Nocturne now. They would deny 2 very powerful picks from Team Kinguin. They would have a strong support in the bottom lane. Bear in mind, this is 6.24, so Karma still hasn't been nerfed. You could look to early rotate that. But I feel that given the limited number of champion or the limited number of junglers currently available, you could look to try and pick something or take away that Nocturne that Tabasco has had very good success on.
Yeah, well, instead they're actually going to be taking away the bot lane that they had to face off against last game. So Achu and Casket, the Ashe and Zyra bot lane in their own hands. We'll see what TK answer with on their side. We did see the Katarina Hover before. I don't think it's going to get picked up this time around, especially in the game Betty's is casting, right?
For Team Kinguin, I think that getting a jungler right now is absolutely fine, given that NRV have already locked in their bottom lane. I would like to see something like a Karma going up against the Zyra. I feel like that it's the same. I mean, you could do Nami, but then you kind of need an AD carry that can perhaps wave kill a little bit better, match with the early pressure that's going to be exerted from this Ashe Zyra bottom lane. That you could do something like a Caitlyn Karma, perhaps, if you just wanted something a little bit safer.
But Ezreal's safe enough.
Yeah, I mean, it's safe. You just lose out on the push. So, I mean, if they do Ezreal Karma, then it does give you a little bit more wave clear early on, so you don't get shoved underneath the turret as quickly. And it just makes things... It alleviates the pressure a little bit more, and it also makes disengaging. So, if you do see that arrow come out, you get the Karma shield on top of you, movement speed. Oh, I can dash out of the way really quick, you know? It just... it adds just a little bit more. So I personally would like to see more of a Karma, but now when we move more towards the side of NRV, this is where you want to be saving your mid lane pick for the last rotation. So in terms of top lane, Poppy has been taken off the board. Camille does very well into the majority of things during the laning phase. She is a very potent duelist, and she does a very effective job against tanks. So I wonder whether or not NRV will go for a tank, or maybe they'll go for something like a cannon. Jace was the ban that we actually saw prior from NRV coming out from. I was having a chat with Deficio about the possibility of Jace into Camille, because every time, when you think about the number of gap closes you have, you can then use the Jace to disengage from that.
All right, but there's another duelist that we hadn't really quite considered, Fiora into the Camille. So that'll be a very interesting top lane matchup. And Suno is locked into the LeBlanc. Instead of doing it a last rotation, he said, that's fine, I can handle whatever you throw at me. But for Team Kinguin, I really like the ability to chase that they have, and that is a Corki locked in.
So that is a
This should be
corky mid. This was something that Sevex did bring out during the qualifiers, and they did honestly have a very impressive performance with it. It's very safe. It works very nicely into a lot of assassins as well, because his early wave clear can keep the LeBlanc fairly pressured underneath the turret, reduces a lot of her kill threat, and when he has the package, he can roam around and sort of match that sort of global pressure that LeBlanc is looking to bring out. The big thing is the teleport coming out from Suno. This could enable him to make more picks around the map. And notice the big change from NRV this time compared to last time is that they have a much more reliable engage tool in the form of the Ashe. So they can have the Ashe set up with the arrow. You have the flank coming in from the Fiora. You have the TP as well coming in from LeBlanc. There are many more options available for NRV, and this time it's Team Kinguin that they do have a Nocturne, but personally I don't consider Nocturne to be a reliable engage, simply because it's more like the Jarvan effect, you know, where you EQ, alt, flash,
and you're helping.
and then like, you know, you're miles away, like you've started the fight, but none of your team can necessarily follow up. So it can be a tool to start off the fights, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it is the best way to actually kick off an engagement, especially if Tabasco goes for a hyper-aggressive build like he did in Game 1, where he got like 3 long swords at the very start of the game, you know, so you could be a little bit squishy.
Well, we could see him getting melted in mid-paranoia sometimes.
Exactly,
of course, Cinder's not in this game anymore, but Memento has opted in for a Hecarim, so something a little tanky, has a lot of engage himself, and this is a team that has a boatload of CC. If they can get a catch, I mean, no one on Team Kinguin's going to be safe.
I mean, I like the team fighting potential from NRV. Their mid-game spike is very powerful with the Hecarim Trinity Force that he's like to go for, as well as the Morello into perhaps the Abyssal or Void Staff for the LeBlanc. Like, I think that their mid-game spike is pretty strong, especially when like the 2-item pickup from Fiora as well. But you also have to respect the double Trinity Force that you're going to have coming out from the side of Team Kinguin, being picked up for Camille in the top lane, and I expect the Trinity Force to come out from the Corki in the mid, assuming that is the way that you would typically.
A lot of Trinity Forces to be built this game, for sure.
I think that we should see a lot more mid-game fights this time around, and I think that it will be NRV that will be kicking off a lot more of the fights, and I'm excited to see what Memento can do on this Hecarim.
Well, we will see that in just a short moment. If you guys think Team Kinguin are going to stack up 2 wins in a row, tweet at LOL Esports, #TKWin. Or if you think NRV are going to fire back in this number 2 game, #NRVWin is what you want to be tweeting at LOL Esports. So we'll see if it works out. Suno had a pretty big performance yesterday on that LeBlanc. We'll see if he's able to do it again in Game 2 here. I'm excited for Camille. I haven't cast her before.
Yeah. From what I heard and from what we've been looking at from the CSQ, she's got a pretty mean win record. She has been dominating from the games that she has been playing, and that's not just in the top lane. She's actually seen a lot of jungle play as well, but this time she will be played up in the top. Ice Beasto, I praised his mechanics. I mean, like, there's only so many mechanics you can do on a Maokai, but it was very much just his awareness, the fact that he was body blocking a lot of skills for his teammates, the way in which he was engaging, this target focus. He just seemed to me like a very smart player that understood what he was doing. And now he's got his hands on more of a carry-style top lane and more of the duelist. And we're going to see how well he does going up against the Grand Duelist.
Yeah, that's going to be a great 1v1. And I wanted to talk about NRV's ability to really 4-1 this time around, because we talked about team fighting ability, but Fiora is one of those champions you have to think is going to want to be splitting a large chunk of the game to draw attention. Who's going to answer that? Because I feel like Ice Beasto is not going to be the one.
To deal with the Fiora?
To deal with the split push in general.
Well, I feel like that you could set up a 1-3-1 for the side of Team Kinguin, because you could I mean, as long as you have a teleport on a champion, you can just send them to deal with. And I think that you have to respect how strong Camille is when it comes to dueling. Her passive shield has not been nerfed yet. It will get nerfed next patch, but it goes from 1.5 seconds up to 2.5 seconds. As she levels up throughout the game. And I mean, going up against a Fiora, I'm personally quite excited to see how this one plays out. I would expect Camille to have a slight edge during the early dueling stages, but it's very much based on how well they are played. I feel like I am expecting this to be a very heavy skill matchup that I would like to keep track of during the laning phase.
Yeah, have to keep an eye on it. And you know, one thing to definitely note is the difference in item choice. While Ruin has gone for that potion to start things off, Corrupting Potion, Ice Beasto's gone all in on the Doran's Blade.
Yeah, so looking for a little bit more aggression down in the bottom lane. Speaking of aggression, this time we're going to see the power of the Ashe Zyra early on. No pull this time. They are just going to be immediately trying to get that early shove. Going up against the melee support in the form of Braum is certainly going to make things a little bit difficult.
There's your shield.
Yeah, but this is why you can see every time Ruin tries to go aggressive, Ice Beasto can just turn around and match the aggression thanks to the shield that he has. It mitigates a lot of the damage. And this is LeBlanc, so like... Sebex hasn't quite got the early push that he wanted, which is why he's taking a bit of harassed right now. But once things start getting better, he should be able to force that LeBlanc underneath the turret.
All right, tack sweep, but Ruin was able to parry it. Nicely done. Yeah, we'll look back in the mid lane in a minute because Sebex is not going to be stopped from farming. He also has a corrupting potion in his pocket as well, and if he doesn't go down immediately, Suno doesn't really have the burst pressure, but you can see that he is getting the Shadow Orbs off, and the Thunderlord's procs are ticking, so it's harder and harder for him to really follow up as well as all that. But I do want to keep a lot of attention towards this top side. Ice Beasto is down on farm, but that is a big wave pushing his way. Down in the bottom, however, Koss is the one who's taking the beating as he is on the front lines trying to prevent Woolite from farming it up.
Yeah, he's trying to play a little bit more aggressively, as you would want to do on the Zyra. Try and punish the fact that you have a melee support available to just play around with using your plans. But he is getting poked a lot by Woolite, and that's just a credit to Woolite. Doing what he can to punish the over-aggression coming out from Koss. Meanwhile, I want to keep my eyes on the junglers as well, because Memento looking for a bit of aggression in the mid lane, but it is quite difficult to lock down that Corki, especially a Corki with exhaust. There's also vision on top of Memento right now because of a ward that was dropped earlier on to the entrance of that jungle, and you can already see Tabasco hanging around. He actually has a level advantage over his opponent, but now NRV know that Tabasco's in the bottom half of the jungle.
Yeah, Memento ran right into a trap, and he's going to get feared right away from it. Sebex was looking to add to the damage, but he's a little low and he couldn't quite get there in time. It does seem a little bit more evenly matched up with this pair of junglers, because last time we had a Kha'Zix who not only got a 3-buff start but already was going to be able to do more earlier on, but this time, you know, both are kind of looking for that level 6, their ultimate, to be able to get involved in and charge somebody down in the mid lane, or in any of the lanes for that matter.
I feel like this game, you definitely want to invest a little bit more time into the top half of the map when you have two duelists that rely very heavily on scaling and just getting a slight edge. If either one of them were to get a kill or two, or just that early Trinity Force above their opponent, that really will swing the matchup incredibly quickly. So if either jungler is able to get that first setup in the top lane, that could really swing things.
Ooh, Sebex gets stopped by the chains. Suno's definitely getting the better of him right now. He does have the potion available, so he's able to do more, but in comes Memento. Here's the charge. Tabasco's right there. And Memento turns at the last second, so Tabasco's been able to match the presence on the map for now, and he has a farm lead.
I feel like he actually read the map pretty well there. He was expecting Memento to come around for a mid lane gank about this time. He noticed that the minion wave was pushing towards Suno, and that Sebex had already taken a fair amount of damage. So Tabasco there to react, able to stop the pressure coming out from Memento, and he was even able to get the, or Memento had used his Ghost, which means that he won't have that available now for any future ganks. But notice that he is in the top half of the map. Ice Beasto has put a forward ward, because if Memento's going to gank from anywhere, it will be through that jungle entrance. And then you have two of the control wards down in the bottom half of the river, which is basically allowing Ice Beasto to push up in this lane and be a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, gets the tack sweep on, but Ruin is going to go in with the parry. A couple of auto attacks on top of it, and Ice Beasto's not going to go all in. Once we get to 6, this is going to get real interesting. It usually is the case when you have powerful ultimates like these two. Let's see how it happens back in the mid lane as well. Suno looking to go in, misses the chains this time around. Not going to land the Shatter Orb either. He still trades better than Sebex, is able to do the damage back with the Gatling gun. But the wave clear's there. Can't really push in against a Corki.
Nope, certainly is difficult. One of the big changes that happened to LeBlanc with the Assassin reworks is the fact that she does have a little bit more wave clear because of her passive now. If you use your distortion on the on a wave and then you throw out the Shadow Orb, it then applies to all of the different minions, and it used to do a lot more damage, but then it got nerfed ever so slightly. So her wave clear wasn't quite as strong as it was on the initial change, but she still has much more wave clear, especially in the early levels compared to what she used to. So she's able to match the pressure that Corki's able to exert, but she's not able to necessarily win out on all these trades simply because of the delay that has now been put onto distortion. So every time she jumps in, she has to sit there and soak up a little bit of damage every time before she can jump out.
Well, and when you're standing in the midst of the Gatling gun, that's definitely not going to be the best for you, but you do see a lot of attention being given to this mid lane by at least Memento, who unfortunately was not able to get that gank off earlier on, but his Ghost is nearly back up in the top. Ruin, he parries just in time to stop the attack sweep, but Ice Beasto now at 6v6. Let's see, the Grand Challenge is issued. There's the hook shot, and he's out. Escape from Ice Beasto, but Ruin was the one who got the better of that trade.
Yeah, so Ice Beasto demonstrating that if he's not careful, if he mismanages his abilities, Ruin can very quickly turn on him. A lot of that is thanks to the sustain that Ruin had decided to go for. He did pick himself up the Corrupting Potion early on, so that he had a mana advantage and a health advantage, enabled him to go for that play. And now we see a gank in the bottom.
Memento is going straight for Woolite. Exhausted flash from Woolite out, but right into Achu, and he gets the fear off Memento, looking to swipe his way to a kill. Delord and Woolite, that is 2 quick kills picked up, and Achu nails one of them. Very low health bars, but they've gotten out.
Good read from Memento. He had hit that level 6 mark. A lot of harass had been put down onto Woolite under Lord, and Woolite had no mana to get out of that sticky situation. So once again, a good read from Memento, a good early gank, and this is going to snowball NRV to a very early gold lead.
Big gold swing there as they take down the first tower as well. So now 2 kills and almost 14k to 11 as a 3k gold swing. And man, it was close. But look at the summoner difference. Once again, Woolite and Delord are fresh out. Achu and Kos held on to both their flashes and the exhaust. Ice Beasto's gonna move forward, gets the ward in that brush. It's gonna spot Ruin out and stop his plan for now. But let's take a look once again at that gank.
So just have a look at the setup. You can see that both Woolite and Delord had been chunked out. Barely any mana for Woolite. He flashed towards his turret because he thought that it was the point of safety, but Kos just keeps aggro on the turret to perfection. He'd managed to tank enough shots that he went down to even like 5 HP, and then that allowed Memento to just be under the turret for as long as he wanted. That enabled them to get the 2 kills, and has now given them a pretty significant early start.
Sebix gets caught as he tries to get out of dodge, and he's going to be able to stay alive. But yeah, I mean, doing something like that on Zyra is damn near impossible considering that health pool. But okay, tack sweep on Ruin now, and he's pushed back by Ice Beasto, but you can already see that NRV are on the aggressive to try and push in this mid-tier turret. All right, wave's cleared, but they got a little bit of damage out of it. So once the tower had already fallen, it's easy for Achu and Kos to go on a roaming spree, but there is a big wave pushing in, and Woolite's going to be backing away. No summoners for him still.
As you mentioned, they went for a roam, wanted to try and find an opportunity, given that there was such a big minion wave down in the bottom lane, and there was nothing really for Achu and Cass to go and work towards. So instead, they tried to force a play in the mid. They do force the flash out of Sebix, which is still a pretty good thing, because it then enables Memento to look for a gank later on into the game. But I'm surprised that they didn't decide to try and move Achu and Cass up into the top lane, because someone like a Camille would struggle a little bit to deal with it, with that sort of pressure. You know, the wave cut on Camille isn't the strongest. It's going to... I mean, you naturally struggle when you're going up against an AD carry, so I feel like that they could look to apply a little bit more pressure onto that turret. But I guess that they're quite happy with how things are going in terms of the 1 versus 1. So for the time being, they're just going to keep both their AD carry and support down the bottom lane.
It's a different type of game as well than when you look at last game, when the plan for Team Penguin was pretty much just like kind of ride out this laning phase that we are in a disadvantage of, and we've got the late game, we've got Sebix on something like a Rise. This time it's not the case. You've got a fair amount of mid-game power coming out of Sebix, but it's not going to scale like crazy. On the other hand, the early game is pretty important for NRV as well because of this Fiora, who's losing on a farm, but, you know, is still able to trade 1v1 and still no kills there, and it has been a surprise the junglers haven't gotten involved.
Yeah, I am honestly quite surprised, because I felt that if there were going to be a lot of ganks, it would be in the top half of the map. And once again, we're yet to see very much coming out from Tabasco in this early game. But he is now level 8. He has completed his first major jungle item. And he could look to set something else to see another trade in the top lane.
Yep, parry this time. Tack sweep saved a little bit. Ice Beasto has the better of it. So far, hook shots in, gets another auto and power. And here's the ultimatum! Ruin, though, says that's okay, we can tango. And it's going to trade even for now. Another tack sweep, but Ruin goes in on this one. He's in minions, however. And hookshot flashed.
Good flash from Ruin, but still, trade 1 overall from Ice Beasto. Tabasco now moving to the top half of the map. He has his ult.
He senses he can finish a kill here, and he does. Tabasco picking off Ruin as the flash was down. Nicely tag teamed. And it looks like Team Penguin are looking to polish off the turret in the top.
That was a fun trade between Ice Beasto and Ruin as we see another gank in the mid.
Uh-oh, a Memento. He can chase him down. The chains are on. He's got nowhere to go, and Suno will not be the one that picks up the kill. Kos with the cheeky plant steal.
Now they're looking for a Chew. Is going to just quickly force his flash. But still, this was what we were talking about earlier on. Kos and a Chew moving down to the mid lane. They were able to force the flash away from Sebix. That enabled Memento to come later on and force another gank. So now they can move towards this mid-tier 1. With 3 members strong, they should be able to take it, given that Delord, he doesn't have his ultimate to disengage. He has no real wave clear, and here comes the Ash out. Actually, onto Woolite.
It stopped Woolite up, and Memento's going to go right over the wall. Suno's tagging in, and
they
a Shadow
get him!
Orb! Suno finishes him off.
Really good setup from a Chew. That was a beautiful snipe down onto Woolite. They're able to catch him out. Memento still had his ultimate, didn't need to use it onto the gank earlier on, and they get themselves another kill. Yet they do not get themselves that tier 1 in the mid, but they can probably just move around, look to put a bit of pressure, or maybe just go for this dragon.
But this is a really exciting game here now. Gold advantage is only 1,000. The dragon has obviously not been quite as important this time as it was the last time around because we had so many Infernals, but towers traded, and now NRV looking to get themselves a little bit of extra movement speed. There's no contest really available right now. And man, I got to see that Ash arrow again. That was just crisp.
It was the fact that I think he even got it blind. It was almost like he expected it to just kind of be there. Because from what I recall, I mean, right now there's currently no vision in that half of the map. I don't recall there being that much deep vision coming out from Memento. And so the fact that Achu was able to land that is very impressive. We see another gank in the top.
Yeah, another ultimatum, and Ruin this time is going to have to issue the grand challenge, but 2v1, he can't get it done, and Suno is going to cancel that TP. He knows it wasn't going to end well.
And this is the thing you have to respect when going up against Camille, because she throws out that ultimate. You have no way to escape unless you can force Ice Beastar out of that small arena. But nevertheless, still another kill going over to Ice, or a kill now going over to Ice Beast, so another kill going over to Team Kingwin. 2-4 now in their favor as pressure being exerted onto this mid tier 1. And when we actually look at the whole map and we look at how things have been going, the fact that NRV feel like they have been the consistent aggressors don't have actually a massive gold lead.
Let's take a look here. So
yeah, look, there's like
just waiting.
So
okay, he sees Ezreal moving
so he
through
probably
the
saw
ward
him
vision,
there. He saw him on that. He saw him on that ward just there.
The path prediction is perfect.
Then
The moment he arrives to E over, and the communication, Memento and Suno just jumping right in there, finishes the job with Shadow Orb right before Delord can really do much about it. What a move!
Yeah, crisp.
All right, so we're nearly 15 minutes into this game. Slim gold advantage for NRV, but they have had the pressure on, and look at the vision they've got invested around this river. Not going to let anybody from Team Kingwin move freely about, but you can see where Kingwin themselves have actually put a lot of their own vision up towards this top side. It's evident because of how frequently Tabasco's been moving in on that.
Now taking stock of what NRV's options are. They actually want to try and contest these neutral objectives. The red buff, pick that one up. And it's interesting that you mentioned the vision because notice that NRV have put a lot of priority on getting control of the bottom side. This has enabled them to go and steal away this red. But a lot of Team Kingwin's priority has actually been in the top half of the map. They wanted to make sure that this Camille has a good early game. And so far, he has. Working towards that Trinity Force, almost completed it. I've been doing a bit of research in how they actually choose to build, and I see some Camille's going for Ravenous Hydra second, whereas others just choose to go full tank. Whether or not he decides to go a little bit more aggressive, I think will dictate how well the rest of the game goes to Team Kingwin, because it would be nice to have a little bit more of a front line, especially with the build path that Tabasco is going. But now we have 3 members from NRV looking to siege onto this tier 2 in the bottom lane. Very aggressive from Woolite.
Suno was actually coming around the side as well, but they have run fresh out of minions to really do much with. Ruin is going to be able to shove a wave towards the mid, but Sebex is there to intercept. And now everyone from NRV is hanging around this bottom side, but there's no objective for Kingwin to really go for here, so there's no reason that they'd be moving in. It looks like it's NRV just going to be backing away for now.
I'm still surprised that NRV haven't actually sent the bottom lane up to the top half of the map.
There we go. As you say it.
There it is, yeah. I feel like
late is what's important, Vegas.
I felt like that they could have done this earlier and just moved Ruin to the bottom lane. I feel like they're now doing it simply because of the fact... Oh, actually, as you already noted.
All right, hook shot.
Oh,
dude,
you got baited because it was the LeBlanc ultimate. I hate that.
I got baited too.
No, that's what. Yeah, it's the LeBlanc ultimate. It's been happening all throughout this game. I'm like, oh, have a look. And LeBlanc's coming in from a flank. Like, nope.
Unfortunately, the observer interface does not allow us to see which one's real. All right, so Ruin is going to get bopped up by Delord here. True shot barrage, but there's still a tower. So Woolite and Delord can't chase any further, and also Memento was there. So Ice Beast was not in any danger, but he thought he was.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of the LeBlanc ult. It's really obnoxious.
Yes. Especially if you're watching.
Yep. Like, I still remember one of the first times that I encountered the LeBlanc is I actually went for a gank bottom lane on Nocturne. I used my ultimate. The LeBlanc came in from a flank, and I flashed away to then have the LeBlanc just disappear in a puff of smoke because it wasn't the real LeBlanc. It's just so obnoxious.
It's when you type in all chat, worth. I could have died. It's the thing, you never know.
I know, that's the beauty of it, right?
Oh, arrow? Okay, this time Sebix is out of there. Achu has been really on point with these, though, forcing quite a lot. And Suno's taking a bit of chunk, and in comes Ice
Oh
Beasto.
my word.
He wants to finish off Achu, and it's Tabasco. That does the job. Now they're looking to separate out. Koss has nowhere to go into the Rift Herald pit, and he is stopped up. Exhaust Flash, followed by Ice Beasto. Stranglethorns will not be enough. He pops it, and he's going nowhere. Ice Beasto still gets him.
I feel like Tabasco using his flash was not necessary. The fact that Koss was able to bait so many summoners out is a big advantage for Team Kinguin. But let's have a look at the bigger picture. 4-4 in kills, a mid lane tier 1 on the board, and Team Kinguin have once again reclaimed control after a bit of a shaky early game.
Yeah, Ruin is going to look to try and equalize that gold output, but you can see Woolite already there to intercept the wave that he was pushing in, and Ruin did not want to go too far. The vision they've had on the bottom side for NRV, it started to evaporate.
I mean, I'm honestly just very impressed with how Team Kinguin have been playing, because they've got so much calm and patience in the early game, and they're playing these things so smart. The fact that everyone just split away from a Jew was just, I mean, a little bit questionable. He started walking through the river. Koss went one way, Suno went the other, and then they just leave him available for Ice Beast to just pick off unawares. And this is the strength that you have of Camille. She has so much mobility. It's so easy to dive onto a target, and it's so much fun to watch. I mean, I'm sure it's not fun to play against.
I don't think they're having too much fun, but Ice Beasto, let's see if he can get out of this one. Memento charging him down, and he ults on in, feared backwards. Ice Beasto is going to have to keep ducking and diving and dodging, but it's not going to be enough. As Ruin says, have a little bit of 2v1. Been giving it to me all game, might as well return that favor. 5 seconds on this dragon spawning. Team Kinguin are trying to push away the vision. But back to that fight. That is, I mean, this has been a hallmark so far, what we've seen of NRV in this series, is that they just do not have the same level of team fight awareness that Team Kinguin seem to have been bringing.
I feel like the NRV have been playing very heavily on just getting a very good early start and then snowballing that into a strong mid-game.
Win lane, win game.
Yeah, and
Good
so
old
far,
strat.
Team Kinguin have just been playing patiently. They've said, you know what, we actually have pretty good scaling. We know what we need to do in this game. Like, the Ezreal, yeah, okay, he will eventually get outscaled by the Ashe, but in the mid-game, he should actually have a slightly larger spike. Like, right now, he has completed the Iceborne Gauntlet. He also has under his belt the Muramana, or the Manamune. I forget the name of either one of them. But what you can see is now the Infernal Drake is on the map. The teleport is available for Ruin, not actually up for Ice Beasto. So he's going to have to start making his way down. He has already got the shove going towards that top half. But this is a good time for NRV to try and force this dragon.
Big rocket, though. NRV had to rethink if they have enough in the tank to really do this, and they might just do it, and Ruin's going to pop over the wall. They need to follow this real quick. It's not going to go down, but they might be able to get a few kills as the fight is on. Ruin falls. Woolite takes the kill credit. Koss on the runaway. Memento, Tabasco. They're clearing everyone out of this one. They got the dragon, but they paid for it. 4 kills for 0, and a double kill for Woolite on top.
And they're pinging the Baron right now. Team Kinguin, they do have 5 members strong. They don't need a front line as long as they can get this objective. And hey, we don't care if we lost a dragon, if we can get ourselves a big purple worm off the back of it.
20 minutes into this game, the Baron has only just hit the Rift, and they've got the damage to take it down. Only Memento is here. He has ultimate. He would need to use it right over the wall. If he can get this steal, it would be a miracle as he's looking to charge on him. But this Baron is going so low, and he looks to maybe polish off some kills. No, they've peeled off the Baron. They hesitated. Now they're going to go back in, and they finish the job. And that is a defensive ult, as Memento does not want a 1v1 with Ice Beasto, but he's forced into it anyways, and that's going to be just enough. Sweeps him aside.
Team Kinguin get themselves a 21-minute Baron. I thought Memento was going to come in for the cheeky steal. We've seen a lot of them during the Challenger Series qualifier, but it is Team Kinguin to secure it. Now backtracking, you can see this teleport flank coming in from the Fiora. They get vision that Tabasco is actually miles away, so they know they can commit for the Infernal Drake. And then 3 members. This is a classic Woolite play that would normally go horribly wrong, but his aggression is actually very calculated. He relies on the fact that he has a very solid distraction in the form of the Braum, just drawing the attention, and now we see more action in the mid.
Oh, Suno. Okay, that's a big chunk of damage. The package Valk puts Sebix right in distance, and now we go right back to the 1v1, but Ice Beasto finds himself short a few minions here, and he's on the run from Ruin. Hops in. He's going to be finished off. The grand challenge completes.
All of that was thanks to Ruin actually using the riposte to remove or mitigate a lot of the second true Q damage that was coming out from Ice Beasto. And when you look at these sustained, drawn-out fights, I would actually give the slight edge over to the Fiora, especially now that she's completed that Ravenous Hydra. So demonstrating that the Duelist still is fairly grand, and something that you have to respect coming into this mid to late game.
You absolutely do. And Camille, you know, whenever you've got a new champion, a relatively new champion that has a lot of power still on this patch, you know, it can look very attractive. I can take the 1v1. It doesn't matter if I'm down a level or down a little bit of CS, but Ruin just having the edge there and is able to show better mastery than Ice Beasto was able to put out. But the minions also did their job too. It's usually not a good idea to fight in a whole pool of your opponent's minions, and that looks like NRV will finally finish off that top tier 1 tower and get themselves a little bit back. They've only got 1 so far in this game, but it's about to be 2.
Look at Tabasco though. He should go for the ultimate hit. Oh, he just lost vision. He's going to use the Blast Cone to get in range.
Spotted on the ward. Okay, so Ruin knows he has to keep on running. He may not get out of this. He's hesitated for just a minute. Dashes forward. Okay. He's on the run here, and there is Woolite coming into the rescue, but Ruin is not able to get out in time, and Woolite snipes the kill.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Thanks for that assist.
Woolite did all the work. Now, flank from Memento.
All right, he's going to look for Sebex here. Ooh, they're going to turn on to Daylord, who has to flash himself away, and now with Woolite coming in, Stranglethorns only knocks him up for a moment. They rethink the strategy.
So, a failed engage once more coming out from Team NRV. They can't lock down Sebex. Woolite also being separated from the fight meant that he could come in from the side and act as a bit of pressure. Now with 3 members strong, they have the Baron. Looking to take down this tier 2 in the mid, but Memento, he wants more. He's got his ultimate available. Who is he looking for right now? It's onto Woolite. He goes, but he's instantly exhausted. Daylord is melted. Tabasco threatening around the backside. Memento even stays alive. But meanwhile, up in the top side, Ice Beasto was able to secure a turret, and he looks to come in for the flank and secure them the second in the mid. Be able to do it no problem. Achu, they don't quite have enough. He has to heal. It's gone down. So NRV give up 2 towers. Trying to dive down. They get Daylord for it, but I somehow don't think they'll be happy with the result. I mean, they've managed to get themselves quite a lot off the back of this Baron. Team Kinguin have done a great job of, even though losing a couple of members, we have to backtrack and realize that, yes, they got the kill onto Ruin in the top lane. That kill also went down onto Woolite, which is always a great person to have a few of those kills on. They get themselves the tier 2 in the top lane. They get themselves a tier 2 in the mid. So now what they can do is they can send Ice Beasto to the bottom lane. He still has his teleport up. He can look to start pressuring that turret, or that tier 2 down there, and the Dragon is going to be spawning in about 1 minute and 20 seconds, which means that vision control is going to be the priority for setting up around there. Yeah, you can already see a lot of vision invested by Team Kinguin up in the top side that allowed them to do the move they just did, but you should definitely see that shifting. Be nice to check out where they're all moving on the map, all 5 members hanging down on the bottom. And Ruin was there, but he did just switch over to the top side, so it does seem like Kinguin are once again dictating the pace of this game and saying, NRV, come play our game. We will fight you and we will beat you. So far, they're doing a grand job of it. NRV not dropping a game during the qualifiers to now being on the verge of losing their 2nd in a row. Team Kinguin somewhat defying all expectations, I feel. You know, when they come out of the group not really looking like the strongest team, especially given how... Dropping a couple silly games. Yeah, you know, it's against teams like Alternate Attacks, it's like, are they really going to be able to contest? Well, so far, they're doing a fantastic job. Oh, absolutely. Now, Suno tries to assassinate Woolite. He doesn't have the burst damage, but then he turns back around, and the Shadow Orb does quite a lot of damage to those HP bars, and it makes Team Kinguin rethink how far they want to go here. It is a 4v4 with the top laners on the top side, and 20 seconds till this Dragon spawns. They need a quick recall. Yeah, in all honesty, I actually think they're going to lose out on this Dragon, because you can see that Ruin has already just gone back. He's picked himself up the Giant's Belt. Vasco's still here, though. NRV is in a prime position to go for this Dragon right now. It is going to be the Ocean Drake, so even if they lose it, it's not the end of the world. But the fact that it's 3 dragons on the side of NRV mean that that's going to mean a lot if they're able to get themselves the Elder Dragon later in the game. Oh, wow. Suno is actually hanging around. Oh, no, it got juked again. Darn. But yeah, okay, so NRV, yeah, definitely have the edge for just a moment at the very least, but Kinguin have been playing these fights out just so much better, and now that they've given up a little bit of attention on the map, you can see Tabasco's just going to instantly hop his way over. He might just be able to cheekily secure this by himself without any answer. I mean, NRV are kind of slow on this. Wow. All right, then. Fair play. I feel like NRV could have just gone for that earlier on, but I mean, impressive stuff coming out from them. So right now we have to look at the setup on the map. Notice that Ashe is actually being moved to the bottom side. Baron is going to be spawned in about a minute's time. Fiora is still applying pressure up in the top lane. Now that the Black Cleaver has been finished as well, that's going to make things a little bit harder for Ice Beast to win out in the 1 versus 1. Trinity Force completed in the mid lane, working towards that Blade of the Ruin King. And here we are, another 1v1 duel.
Well, you say that, and then instantly Tabasco and Sevex attack their way in. Ruin got seriously baited on that, but look at this, NRV instantly pushing down the mid. They've run out of minions, however, so they can't keep going for much longer. And with Daylor trying to cut them off, the only way to go is into the jungle. 23 seconds on the Baron respawn. Right now, the vision investment for TK is up in the top side. And they're actually pinging on the side of NRV back to the top because they think that Ice Beasto and Tabasco are going to keep pushing this.
I feel like this is a great opportunity for Team Kinguin now to gain full control over NRV's jungle. With the Baron spawning in 5 seconds, Ruin on a 20-second death timer, they may even look to just rush it down, but it is very risky when you take into account the teleport is still available for Ruin. The Ash Arrow is still up, and Memento, he's looking for a bloodbath.
Oh, this is going to be tense. 28 minutes in, the second Baron attempt. The first one, well, it was all free since they took advantage of that small time window, but this time it's not going to be so easy. Koss frontline and taking a lot of damage here. Woolite has him stopped up. The Iceborne Gauntlet slows him, forces the flash away, and now Suno, Memento, Achu all running away from this one. Delord puts the unbreakable wall on. And Ruin is not here right now. Koss is going to have to back. They're right back to Baron.
I'm surprised that Tabasco actually didn't go for that ultimate there, because Achu and Koss are actually split away from Suno and Memento, both of them taking different directions. And he could have actually tried to force something there, decided not to. Then moving back to the Baron. Again, I think this is very risky. You can see Ruin coming in from the flank.
Oh, but Ruin, he gets flanked himself. The whole team finds their way in, and Woolite finishes the kill. Memento stops straight, turns back around. They may not have gotten the Baron, but they got some more. And double kill! Sniped by Woolite. Back to Baron it is.
Really good plays coming out from Team Kinguin. They realize that the best way to deal with the flank is just to kill the flank outright. But Memento, he still has his ult. He wants to stop this Baron, and he's going to go for it.
He's going to go in. Suno distracting right now, but it's down to 2,500. Looking for Memento. Tabasco finishes the kill off. Achu, he's chased into the pit. Memento with a desperate charge, but the Baron's not low. Ice Beast still kills Achu, and that is it. They're wiped. The Baron, 29.5, and Kinguin in the lead.
Team Kinguin once again with a beautiful play around the Baron. They executed that so phenomenally well. Target focus, just so on point that they basically got that Baron completely uncontested. That was so well played, and Team Kinguin defying all expectations, I feel, and just coming out like such a dominant team.
They came out swinging this series, 6,000 gold in the lead. Let's see this again. You could see the desperate plan, but Ruin found himself flanked.
So the best way to deal with a flank from just one member is to just turn onto one side of the flank. I mean, when you weigh up the odds, it makes most sense to just turn onto Ruin rather than the 4 other members. And then because Koss was trying to help out his top laner, he didn't have his flash. It had been burnt earlier on, and that made it so easy for Woolite to get that snipe. Now just keep your eyes on the Baron, because members from TK are actually getting very low. Suno tries to shut down the jungler, gets a good heal, but we don't have time for that because there's a siege onto the base.
Yeah, looks like it's going to be a quick one as well. And in comes Ice Beasto onto Achu, melts through his health bar before they even take down the tower. And Suno is going low. He has to distort his way away. Down goes the inhibitor, and this base is starting to look like Swiss cheese. NRV does not have much time left. 30 minutes into this game, the second Baron on Team Kinguin. Stranglethorn's dodged out. Memento desperate charging in, but he's into 5 members right now. They may have low health bars, but NRV has no members left. It's only Suno and only Ruin now. He gets the grand challenge. He gets Tabasco, but he's not going to get enough. Back to the fountain he goes to try in for round number 2, but the last of the turrets is going down. Ruin with one more parry. It's not going to be enough. The repost fails, and it's going to be Nexus. Team Kinguin with 2 and 0 on the board.
Team Kinguin looking very impressive. The Camille coming out once more throughout this tournament. It did manage to slide through, and I feel like when we have to go back to the draft again, because I feel like that Team Kinguin are very happy. They've demonstrated strong performance with this Nocturne multiple times now. Not very much early pressure, but once he hits that level 8, he starts to have some serious work. And where was his first gank? Up in the top lane. He gets himself a kill. They start to apply pressure to the Fiora. Then Camille gets another kill up in the top lane. And I feel like once that started, once this Camille really started getting rolling, that's when they started to make these plays. That's when they started to look for opportunities around the map. And it is exactly like we saw in game 1. Team Kinguin falling behind in the early game. First 10 minutes, they were struggling during the laning phase, especially down the bottom lane, where Memento was just exerting all of that pressure. And then they just weren't able to do anything with it. They even had the Ashe ult. They had some really nice arrows throughout the game, but it just didn't result in anything. Memento held on to his ultimate a little bit too often and didn't really force many plays. And in all honesty, it was just the same sort of thing from NRV, where we're just not really seeing them use this early gold lead and turning into something. We talked a lot earlier on about moving that bottom lane up to the top, perhaps looking to try and get themselves another tier 1. They didn't do that until Ruin got to a point where he couldn't 1v1 the Camille anymore. You know, I feel like the NRV are just perhaps not quite on the ball for this series, but this is still only game 2. They are still behind, and the possibility of a reverse sweep is still there.
Yeah, it's always possible. I mean, it is a best of 5. We've seen crazier things happen, but coming in to today, I don't think very many people would have predicted that Team King would be 2-0 up on the board after the performance that NRV had been able to put in throughout the Challenger Series qualifiers so far. But with 2 games in, our best of 5 has been dominated by TK. We'll see what happens in game number 3 when we come back right after the break. Memento is going straight for Woolite. Exhausted flash from Woolite out, but right into Achu, and he gets the fear off Memento, looking to swipe his way to a kill. Delord and Woolite, that is 2 quick kills picked up. And Suno's taking a bit of chunk, and in comes Ice Beasto. He wants to finish off Achu, and it's Tabasco that does the job. Oh, they need to follow this real quick. It's not going to go down, but they might be able to get a few kills as the fight is on. Ruin falls. Woolite takes the kill credit. Cost on the runaway. Memento, Tabasco, they're clearing everyone out of this one. They got the dragon, but they paid for it. 4 kills for 0. And
you can see Ruin coming in from the flank.
Oh, but Ruin, he gets flanked himself. The whole team finds their way in, and Woolite finishes the kill. Memento stops straight, turns back around. They may not have gotten the Baron, but they got some more. And oh! Double kill! Sniped by Woolite of the turret is going down. Ruin with 1 more parry. It's not going to be enough. The repost fails, and it's going to be Nexus. Team Kingwood with 2-0 on the board.